Well, hello. I'm back after a little bit hiatus, so I have to give some of you new listeners. I say new, I mean I have a new channel, so that's most of you. But I have people been following me since I was doing live Facebook videos. I do still do stuff for the military, and sometimes I just go on hiatus, and so sometimes that means I'll go about 5 days or so without a video. It just is what it is. Or if those of you have contacted me for consultations or whatever, you might not hear me back from me right away on an email or a text or whatever. And so I appreciate your understanding with that. I don't live and die by what goes on the internet. Okay, so that's a big difference between me and other content creators. I'm a very much use the internet for what it does to serve me and serve my clients and serve the people I'm trying to help, and then I get off of it. So it's even a little weird. Those of you guys see me on Twitter now, or whatever. The fact that I'm even on Twitter is weird. Okay, for me, it's just that I find that it's better for my mindset and my frame to limit the consumption of that stuff, and I still do. So I do recommend that for you. But I got a four-part series here we're going to put out. It's on frame control. Hit the subscribe button, the notification bell. So when I do a hiatus like that, you'll be notified as to when I'm back. And in the description, get on the email list. I've only sent out one thing. So if you've only got one thing from me and you're wondering where the rest is, well, it's on its way. And also stay tuned. I'm speaking at the Rule Zero conference, Zoom conference, and tickets will be on sale here in a few days on the 12th. And it's only a 5-day window, so you're in or you're missing it. Ton of good stuff. What I'm going to put out or what I'm going to do, message me if you're curious about it. It's going to blow your mind. So that's all I'm going to say. All right. So those of you who've seen the description of what I'm going to talk about, might be interested. I won't even talk about it much on this video. But put it this way, it's stuff I can't talk about here on YouTube. It's savage and it's good, and it's going to up your level or your entire paradigm of how you think about women and relationships. So get on that, okay? But I'm not the only one. You got 9 other speakers that are world class. So, I'll post I'll post more ads and stuff for that on all my platforms, so get on that stuff. All right, so I'm going to try to keep this under 10 minutes, probably starting now, not 3 minutes ago. All right, I'm going to do a 4-part series. I'm going to try to keep each part about up to 10 minutes because this is going to level you up. For those of you who are interested in LTRs or, interested in just having frame control with women in your life, particularly women who are, long-term dating partners, LTRs, if you do the marriage thing, which I don't recommend in the West as things are now, but I'm not going to tell you no, if that's what you do, if that's your religious beliefs, I get it. Definitely frame control is important for that. And so this is critical. You can't have a good relationship or a healthy relationship or one that's going to be successful without frame control as a man, okay? Now, for some of my female listeners, because I do have quite a few, as it turns out, this video is for what the man needs to do to control the frame, to have not just a successful relationship, but the kind of relationship that people dream about, the kind of LTRs that, most of you listening have not experienced at all in your life. And unfortunately, most of you won't, not because you're not capable or because you couldn't, but most people won't do the work to get this level of frame control and the skill set to have it and the SMV to have it. And that just, that's too bad. And no, it doesn't have to do with anything one-sided if you don't look a certain way, you can't do this, or if you don't have a certain amount of money, you can't do this. This frame control stuff is all up here, okay? And that there's an SMV component to it, but that's going to be relative to who you're with, if that makes any sense. So in other words, if you're a chick that you're with sees you as attractive and high SMV, even if you're maybe not considered high SMV by another chick, Now that really doesn't matter now, does it, for LTR game? This matters with the how the chick you're with sees you. All right. Okay, this video is going to be longer than 10. I can already tell. Maybe the next one's will only be 10. We'll keep it as short as we can. But anyway, here's the thing. I'm a little nervous about putting this one out here, okay? Because if this is used in the wrong hands, these tactics, we'll call them, could be used to control and manipulate women to a level that's abusive, right? So in the wrong hands with the wrong kind of a person, this could be used to create an abusive framework in an abusive relationship and get women to stay with you, even at least for a long time, even if you're an abuser. All right, which made me reluctant to really put this out. I was going to put it out and save it for a private platform, something behind a paywall, you know what I mean? Hoping to kind of insulate or shield from some of that, but you know, it's kind of like talking about self-defense techniques, right? I mean, you know, self-defense techniques could be used to harm somebody and, you know, really hurt somebody, right? So, but the payoff of teaching those things or showing those things to the public is worth it because enough people, more people certainly are going to benefit from it and have it'll save their life, all right? The information I'm going to give you over the next 4 videos here is going to save your life, right? Not just because guys kill themselves over relationships failing. That's a primary reason for sucking on a barrel. But because your whole life and the quality of your life, it can be dictated by the types of and the quality of relationships you have with other people, particularly with who you choose to mate with. And if you're doing a long-term relationship, like a long-term, you know, girlfriend, you know, life partner, marriage, whatever, that sets the tone for your entire life. I've met people who are multimillionaires who make, you know, 7 figures a year. I've had them tell me going through the midst of divorce that they are miserable, right? So here are these people who put all this effort and energy into having, you know, a lot of resources and could have anything they want, but because they don't know how to control frame and they don't know how to pick women that are good for them and they don't know how to manage their relationships, they are absolutely miserable with the women in their lives, you know? And so and we see it all the time, right? Like we see it with high value people, and I could just start going through the celebrity lists of people who are high value individuals who can't maintain, who have really just pathetic relationships with women. And yet, you know, I got guys who coach with me who, you know, are average income sometimes at best, who are crushing it. And the women that are in their lives couldn't be happier. Like they're at a level of happiness and fulfillment that they've never experienced, even though they've been with other men who were bigger, stronger, or who had more money than them, who could provide more things for them, so on and so forth, right? These women are happier with the guys they're with because the guys know how to game properly and they understand this aspect of frame control. So this is critical, and as a man, you are the one who leads. Okay, you lead, and you're leading by controlling the frame. Now, I'm going to reference Rollo Tomasi's first book, 9 Rules. Rule number 1 was frame control. I've heard the concept of frame in other disciplines, you know, but I like the way he puts it the best, so I'm going to reference his article that's free on his blog, and because I'm not going to get into the definition of frame too hard here. You need to read the article or at least read his first book if you don't understand what frame is. And the article is a quick read, so if you need to, but without frame, you don't have a relationship, period. So, but I'll sum up a quote Rollo in his blog where he says, "The act of controlling the frame may be an exercise in power for some, But let me be clear from the start that the concept of frame is whose reality in which you choose to operate in relation to a woman. All right, so that kind of sums up what it is. It's not power. It's not having power over the other person. Not really. I mean, power could be involved, but a lot of guys think it's about controlling the woman or having power over her, and that's not what frame control is, and that's not what leadership is. She is free to make her own decisions. But the difference is when she's in your frame, the decisions she makes complements your life and how you see the world. And that is what frame control is. What frame control is the world is out there objectively, okay? The objective aspect of the world, and you are perceiving the world through your own framework. Picture it like a picture frame or a window frame, okay, where you're seeing reality, and it's now through how your own framework. And so, that includes your morals, your values, your belief system, and how you see things. That is your filter. So, for example, let's say that something unexpected happens. You're going throughout your day, you got a busy day, something unexpected happens. You could have a framework of real negative thoughts and feelings and think that, well, this unexpected thing happened, it's less than optimal. My whole day is ruined, everything sucks, right? That could be one way you're seeing reality. Or you could say, okay, this happened, I gotta shift what I'm doing, the day's still pretty good, I'm going to make this situation better, even though this unexpected and potentially not optimal thing just got me by surprise, will be good. That's another way to frame the same event. The event, the unexpected, maybe negative thing happened, or we could say less than optimal thing happened. That's objective reality. And then whether you see it in this, binary extreme circumstance as, good or bad or whatever, and how you react to it, that's the frame, okay? So women are biologically, genetically wired to look to a man to frame the world for her, okay? And if she is not getting it from the man, then she is going to make the decision on her own framework, mostly based on social proof or what society around her is doing. All right? That's the biological drive. Now, I'm not saying that they can't try to logically think differently and do different things or whatever, you know what I mean? But that is the natural drive, is to defer to a man that she trusts and sees as dominant, and she just trusts his frame and his view of the world. And this means, like, even if she doesn't agree with his opinion on something, she still adjusts her thinking so it complements or coincides, So it could give another example. Let's say, you have I hate using I hate using the same examples all the time in these videos, but whatever, it's just such a good example. Let's say you have a certain feeling about male orbiters, right? And you don't think that you think she should have a certain level of boundaries with male orbiters, which would be different than, let's say, mutual friends of you and a couple that are male, or true friends, we could call it, who are not after her, basically, if she was drunk and threw her legs up over her head, her true friends that are males would say, no, I'm not going to have sex with you. What's wrong with you? And try to stop her from a decision that would destroy the friendship or be bad. Whereas male orbiters, right, are waiting for that day she's drunk and her legs are over her head. Well, let's just make that distinction, okay? And let's say you have an opinion on that, all right? And let's say she, because women are naturally wired to collect attention from men, doesn't share that opinion. She just can't see or doesn't think or doesn't want to believe that these male orbiters are really just after her vagina, right? So let's say she doesn't agree with you fully if you were to explain this to her, right? Is that her not being in your frame? Well, not necessarily, okay? That just means she disagrees on a topic. But if her behavior and her view, at least, of setting boundaries, even though cognitively, logically, she wants to argue with you, her behavior is still matching what your framework of the world is, which is that you set boundaries with guys like this, and then she's doing that behavior, and that's what she believes she should do, because even if she doesn't fully agree with your feelings about male friendships, she knows that this is the right thing, because that's the framework that that's the framework that you see, that's the set of values that you're presenting, and she agrees with the values, or she at least is on board with that part. You see, that's okay too. So that's another example. Like, it's not power over your woman, it's her making decisions that complement and coincide with how you see the world and how you want her to see the world too. All right? Which means if you want her to see you as her best sexual option in the apex alpha of her life, that she can never do better than, then that's the frame that you have to hold and present. And that's the frame that she has to fall in line with too. You get it? And so enough about definitions, because I think that you can read the article and get more about that, but hopefully that makes sense. That's where your leadership comes from, okay? This is definitely longer than a 10-minute video. It's probably going to be like 25 minutes. All right, but my next ones will be like 10, because this is the introductory explanation. Actually, you know what? No, we'll get it. No. Do I want to? You know what? No, this is going to be a 5-part video. That's the introduction. All right, we just did an introduction. Okay, I'm going to continue with the introduction, but then we're going to close it off, and then you'll have to just keep the rest of the week. It'll all be out, and you can just binge watch it or watch them one at a time, whatever. Okay, but it's too important of a topic for me to make it into an hour-long thing and then have you guys, fizzle out, because some of you guys have like 0 attention span. Have people fizzle out before, you know what I mean, you get to the end of the hour and stuff. This is too good. All right, honestly, this is good. Now, as I look through this stuff, a couple of things. So, all right, so I'll give you the levels. All right, so there's different stages of setting the frame and controlling it. All right, one is I called it the programming stage. That'll be next video. 2 is idealized isolation. Okay. 3 is, as I scroll through my notes, well, that's not it. Where do we go? Excuse me. Oh, yeah. So 3 is induced dependency, and then 4 is dread. Okay, so those are your four things. All right, you got programming, idealized isolation, induced dependency, and dread. Okay, so now understand that I analyzed my own relationships, and the ones where the women were, including my current one that I'm in, where the women were like head over heels, maximum burning desire, and maintained that for a very long time. There were a few situations with plates, as well as or plates by my choice, not theirs, or LTR scenarios where their amount of burning desire was, you could say, unheard of compared to what most people will ever experience. And so I had to look at those and see what it was that I was doing that would create that. And then it wasn't just me. I was observing other people, that very few people that I know who had maintained this, and there were certain things that they were doing, whether they knew they were doing it or not, that created this ironclad frame that she would fall into and have this insane desire for this person that is far beyond the honeymoon period, like insane desire getting into years later. And there's a couple of elderly couples that I more or less had a chance to interview that were together and still had this desire, burning desire for each other. And we're talking, these are small percentages of the population. I mean, I was just, there's very few and they're hard to find, but I noticed similarities in this stuff. And then I thought about cults, okay? Because people used to joke and say, well, hey, you could be like a cult leader the way that you run some of these girls. I'm like, like I have no desire to be a cult leader, okay? But I looked at cults and I looked at guys who pimp hoes too. That's another thing. Now, there's a certain level of dysfunction and need in the woman that chooses to go do prostitution, as well as a woman who gets involved in a cult. Excuse me. So there's a certain amount of things there that are already that are dysfunctional to begin with, and that they makes them open to being a victim. But that being said, though, the primal hindbrain drives are no different than a healthy person. And I thought about the Manson girls. Here you had, so let's think of Charles Manson for a second. Here you have this small, wiry dude who's not an attractive dude by any conventional standards. He's not an alpha guy by any conventional standards. He's a weirdo, you know what I mean? He's a guy I would beat up if he came at me acting like a weirdo and caused the situation that I thought where he needed to get his ass kicked. I don't consider him an alpha guy like that, but he obviously was to these women that he had absolute control over. And these women killed for him. He had multiple women that he had apex alpha widowed through mind manipulation. And I looked at that stuff, what was in play there. And it turned out it was a variation of the 4 stages or steps I just gave you. All right. And I was like, ooh, so that's why I mean, like, this could be used for evil if used in a different way. Okay. So that's where this comes from. Now, understand the big difference between what I'm going to teach you to do here in this video series and what a cult member or a cult leader would do is that this is not actually manipulation. Okay, so what I'm going to teach you is not how to manipulate a woman. This is not a manipulation. So that's what's important. So as you go through the next few videos in the series, understand that this is not a manipulation, okay? Where the difference is, manipulation is where you're doing things to alter their perception or mind state at their expense to get what you want, okay? This is not at her expense, and there's no level of control. So there's a lot of things that a cult leader would do to execute control, using both the mental manipulation, but then, like, for example, like sleep deprivation and keeping them working and stuff like that, so that their decision making is hindered. And there's a lot of things that they do which you're not going to do. There's a lot of abusive behaviors too that somebody in an abusive relationship to control someone would do. Then that's not what I'm saying you should do. All right, so she will always have the free will to walk away from you, walk out of your frame, and do whatever she wants to. Having free will is a pinnacle of a healthy relationship. Both of you having that ability to walk away is really important. That being said, though, she won't want to walk away because you'll have this frame control that she voluntarily steps into and enjoys and loves being in, okay? She is going to experience the peak experience of a relationship or a long-term relationship that most women dream of, most women have given up on. She will experience that provided that you are doing the things to create that. What you're doing is what's called game, which is communication. You're communicating to her on all levels, on her primal sexual levels, her primal brain, her hindbrain, unconsciously, behaviorally, and with her logical mind. Okay, your communication is on all levels, and it creates this experience for her that makes her draw towards you and have such high emotions and feelings towards you that she just feels amazing. And it's the stuff that, she would read about in a romance novel, at least from her perspective, And so that's what you're doing. You're not manipulating, you're creating the situation for the right person to enter and stay within your frame out of free will and enjoyment, okay? But of course, again, these tactics used in a manipulative fashion or in a added with other abusive techniques could create a cult scenario, could create the Manson girls. And so that's how powerful this stuff is. And now I'm at past the 25-minute mark, so I'm going to cut this video off, but that's the introduction. Read about frame control. That's your homework, okay? And if you want to have this level of game level expert, this level of control over your life with women and your relationships, I'm about to give you the secrets for free here on YouTube, okay? Thanks again for the support. I'm a slow build on my channel, so if you haven't subscribed, do it and send this to like 2 or 3 people and let them subscribe. That helps me out, okay? Thanks again. Stay tuned for, I guess it'll be part 2 of a 5-part series on frame control.